Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 110 of the Everything Moto Racing podcast. Unfortunately, this week we haven't got Cameron and we haven't got Lauren, but don't worry, you don't have to listen to just me yapping away for an hour. So don't worry, I've brought in help from Axel Peterson. Hello, Axel.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Yeah, good. It's nice, cool winter night here in Australia, but the super sub is ready to be back on the job.
Yeah, nice. And Axel actually brings a lot of experience himself about racing, because obviously you race in the Thailand Championship. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. At the moment, I'm racing for a Thai team backed by Valvoline Asia Pacific, and yeah, I'm currently second in the championship, 1 point behind the leader, and we've got the final races of the season in just 7 days.
Oh my God! So next, is it next weekend then coming up?
Yeah, or the one after, sorry, yeah,
Okay.
less than a week until we go
Less
to
than a week.
start the race. Yeah, race week.
Nice. That's. I bet you're gonna be. It's gonna be a nervy time for you, isn't it? Heading into that.
Yeah, the mentalities. Honestly, it's normally like we have one race in a weekend, so it's a
Yeah.
long lead up. Probably like 3 or 4 days of riding just for one race. But this time we've got two races, so 50 points up for grabs, and anything can really happen. And I've had a win this year in 2 seconds, and my rivals had two wins and a third, so it's very, very neck and neck.
Yeah, it is. Especially, obviously, you kind of have to eke out the points then, or maybe win a few more races because he'll. If it goes on a tie, he's got more victories, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And I know what I have to do, and I'm just gonna absolutely send it.
Yeah.
I'm tunnel vision at this point. A lot of people would be nervous, but I know I have a job to do, and I'm really
Yeah.
ready to get on with it.
That's just like the Aussie mantra, and it just send it.
Yeah, I've been in a position where last year I was still able to win the championship going into the final race, and I knew to win the championship I had to win the race, and it was all going sweet. I'd actually never led a national championship race before, but then like immediately from lap one I took the lead, and in my class I was leading the race for the whole race. But then unfortunately on the last lap, my head got in my way, I think, and then I
Mm,
just I bended on the last lap.
no.
Yeah, yeah. So I had to live with that. The last thought before I would go to sleep, and then the first thought in the morning for months. But then getting back this year, I was hungrier than ever. Let's just say.
Good. Yeah. Well, good luck with that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Wish you all the luck. Wish you all the success in the world for that one. Any ideas what you're doing next year, by the way, before we go into the actual podcast?
Yeah, next year, I'm currently doing my undergraduate mechanical engineering degree, so it's been very difficult to balance racing with schoolwork. And even now, I'm finding myself watching the races, even in the Grand Prix level, a lot less. But
Hmm.
there's nothing better than on a Sunday night after a whole weekend of assignment work, just sitting down to watch the GP. But yeah,
Hmm.
right now, 2024 is currently undecided.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I guess we'll see. But yeah. So good luck with all that.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah. All right. But yeah, heading into MotoGP this weekend. I think the weekend kind of kicked off with a selection of chaos and drama in the headlines, with lots of rumours floating around that Marc Marquez had actually signed with the Gresini Ducati squad for next year, breaking his deal with Honda. That was kind of like, if anything, that was a done deal as of Friday and Thursday. That was like, that is going to happen. But
Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
that's exactly what I heard. I I heard even some absurd rumors that he was going to buy out the entire team.
There was a few that he was going to buy the entire team, which he can afford to, and bring Red Bull, Repsol, and Estrella Galicia along with him.
Yeah, that
I'm
would have
like,
been
what?
a real cool situation, I reckon. Like with a team with those kinds of sponsors, with that backing, with the Marquez brothers on the Ducati, I think that would be unbeatable.
Yeah, that would be sensational. Even if it's like a year-old bike, it's pretty impressive. I mean, Bezzecchi's on a year-old bike and he was second this weekend, so he's third in the championship. So it just shows that it doesn't really matter what you're on as long as you're there. The bikes aren't too different from one another, and yeah, like you say, Marc Marquez on a Ducati would be yeah special. But then Puig did an interview a bit later on saying that Marquez hadn't even told them that he was going to leave. So that was a bit of like a weird one.
I feel like that's smoke and mirrors because as far as Puig wants people to know, Marquez has a contract in place for 24,
Hmm.
and it's bad to admit as a team boss that you don't know what kind of state you have your riders contracted under.
Yeah, especially at this level.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gnarly. But then I think it was Sunday. There was a interview posted by there we no, I can't find it. I did screenshot it, but I cannot absolutely find it where anywhere. But basically, a member close to the Honda team who knows about them very well and knows the ins and outs of it, kind of like Speed Week of Red Bull, because Red Bull owns Speed Week. So if they put a rumor about a Red Bull rider, it's more than likely to be true. And the same with this guy. It's very much, he's the man. He knows what he's talking about, kind of thing. And he said that Marc Marquez will remain with Honda next year. And it just kind of became from hype to simmering down quite a lot.
yeah. It, I mean, you could go both ways with this. You could say, well, if there's rumors, that means there's something going on. But then you
Yeah,
can also say that contracts are contracts, and I know Honda have good faith, and they thank Marc Marquez for his service throughout the last few years, but they
yeah.
don't want to hold on to him if he's not happy. You can't force a dog to do tricks if he's not fed.
That's it. Like, because he's hungry for wins. He's not hungry for any. He doesn't care about the money. He gets 25 million a year, but after so many 25 millions a year, if you're not winning, it just becomes like second nature. Not second nature, but it just becomes a byproduct, if anything, of what you're getting. You're there to win races. You're not there to earn money. Marquez never came into this sport as a kid to earn millions of dollars or euros or whatever currency you use. He never came in to do that. He came in to win races, and that's the fundamental of every single racer out there. Every single racer's on track to win races, and when you've won 8 titles and you're very accustomed to winning races, and now you can barely scrape the top 10, money is just nothing at this point. To the point where you could, like you said, like the whole rumor about him buying Gresini is a mental rumor, but he can afford to do it.
Yeah, and if I were him, it it wouldn't be off the cards. I think
No,
Gresini's, they've got a good team going within the first few years of their inception, and the Ducati, a year-old bike with Bez, you can see he's doing a good job on it, and a year-old championship-winning bike is a lot better than a 4-year-old championship-winning bike. Let's say
yeah.
if we look at the Honda.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Honda really only worked under Marquez because you had everybody else who tried it: Danny Pedrosa, Jorge Lorenzo, Alex Marquez, Paul Espargaro, now Johan Mir, who can't even finish a race these days. They're all struggling on it, and the fact that even Marquez is now suffering, just kind of, it really just adds a bit of a blow to it, really, because Honda kind of always were able to rely on Marc Marquez to kind of carry the ship. Like, oh, it's terrible, everything's gone to pot, but at least Marquez is winning races, so he can kind of cover up the dust a little bit, cover up the fire a bit, and go, you know what, we're still winning races, we still won the championship. But now Marquez can't even do that. It just shows, and it makes Honda's problems so much worse because they can't even collect some silverware out of it or collect a championship out of it or some wins out of it because, well, they're nowhere near.
Yeah, yeah. If I were Marc Marquez, I wouldn't even want to be riding around on that bike right now. I would take the rest of the year off to break the contract, get the body back to 100%. Because even if he's not injured, the fact that he's rushed so many injuries must mean he just can't sustain the current schedule of MotoGP. That'd be my theory.
Yeah. To go back as well, it was Emilio Perez de Rosas, who works for El Periódico in Spain, who says that Marquez will stay in Honda. But Marquez today has had a talk, because obviously today is Monday. It's not obvious to you guys, but we're recording on Monday. Right now, MotoGP are testing in Misano, and Marquez has actually said that he will decide on his 2024 season around India/Japan. So we could know in the next 2-3 weeks about where he will go.
Yeah, India will be interesting. But
Yeah.
if he's going to stay at Honda, he'll announce it in Japan. But if he's
Yeah, I
going to
think
leave,
so.
we'll hear it in India.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. It's a good point. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if we
very
don't
good
hear
point.
anything in India, we can kind of draw to the fact that he's probably going to stay at Honda.
Yeah. Also, speaking of India, you know the new track? It's like a purpose-built one, wasn't it?
Well, I
Um,
believe it's not actually new. I think it's the old Formula
the
One track,
Buddha.
which is, as far
That's
as I know.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Buddha International Circuit. That is the old F1 track. But there was a race over the weekend, and I don't know if you saw, but cars on the straight were like jumping, like actually like jumping on the straight.
Oh, I've seen onboard videos of this track, and the tarmac looked fairly bumpy. I'll just
Really?
pull up that clip you were talking about the cars recently.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
crazy
no.
though. If
Yeah,
that's as
I think it was on the weekend. But yeah, and yeah, all the MotoGP obviously there we go. Cars going airborne.
yeah, shoot that over to me.
I just sent it. I've accidentally just recorded the audio onto the podcast as well, so sorry
Oh
about
no.
that. To anyone listening, but yeah, I just sent it over. Cars literally going airborne as they jump
Yeah,
over
let's
it.
see this. So
If
these
you
look like
listen,
Formula 3 or Formula 4 cars, just for the
yeah,
viewers to know. And yeah, they're on the main straight and
they're
just about
literally
pit exit.
jumping.
They are bobbing around. That does not look.
Yeah, like I really
Yeah,
hope that's been
it
fixed.
looks like it could be an older clip. I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's 2 years old. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's not as old as I thought it was. But yeah, if you want to see that for yourself, just type in the Buddha International Circuit bump onto YouTube and you can have a look at them literally jumping. I think to pass the FIM homologation, they would have had to sort out these issues, but there's
it
been a lot of
hasn't
issues
passed
about
yet.
this track.
Rumored,
Has it
apparently
not?
it. No, and I was
Jesus
told
Christ.
by someone in the Grand Prix paddock quite early in the year, and even last year, when I was speaking to the likes of Remy Gardner, he was
Hmm.
told last year that India won't go ahead because
Really? Yeah.
they need
'Cause
to
it was
they need to rebuild like half the track.
Jesus. Well, on
And
the 9th, so 2 days ago, um, riders were given like an Indian MotoGP safety update. In the safety commission meeting, and it was basically a video presentation on the last minute safety updates made at the circuit. Because there's a few corners where the walls are really close, which is an
yeah,
issue.
it's definitely a car track, you know? Like when
Yeah, it
I
is.
when I looked at it, it's I mean the first two corners look a bit like Catalunya turn 1 and 2, but
Yeah,
then like turn 3, the exit of that is insane. That it's like you exit, and if you were to high side, there's about 3 meters before the wall on the track exit.
yeah.
Like it,
It's sketchy, isn't it?
I I hope that they've amended that. I wouldn't be comfortable racing at that.
No, I wouldn't either, especially when the walls are so close. Like Alex Marquez was like about him. Fabio was like, well, it doesn't look too bad from the walls, kind of thing, from the video footage. But he said it's hard to draw a conclusion until he's on the bike, kind of thing. But
Oh, for sure, yeah.
it's interesting because Alicia Spargo, the man who's always yapping on about safety, he missed the safety commission meeting for the first time in 5 years due to a whiplash injury.
Wow.
But like, I can imagine if he was there, I can imagine he would have kicked up a storm if he wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah. Normally, I'm the one in the rider meetings kicking up the storm about safety, but
Hmm.
the GP riders know best, and they're the ones who have to hop on the bike and ride it. But I'm sure that they must have changed the position of the walls. But if there was that meeting that occurred and that they're still talking about safety,
Yeah.
we could be in for a bit of an interesting race weekend. And not to like disrespect the country or anything. I know
No.
India's got great motorcycling pedigree. Bajaj, the
Yeah, they
Indian bike
love it.
manufacturer, they own a majority stake in KTM and
Yeah.
TVS Racing. They've got their own whole one make class in the Asian championships now that are riding faster lap times than the actual 250 productions, and they've got like
Exactly.
carbon wheels and all sorts of stuff, and it's
That's age.
innovation that's coming out of that country in the bike realm. So there's definitely the people there to do it. It just seems like maybe someone signed a deal and it was a bit of a rush job, let's just say.
That's just Dorna for you, unfortunately, isn't it? Like they're pretty much going to any country that'll pay them enough money to do it without the sport going under. So I think there must have been a lot of money being put in because I don't know because F1 used to race there, but they haven't raced there in quite a while.
Yeah, I
Let's have
believe
a
it was
look.
2013, the final
Yeah,
Formula One Grand Prix there.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the circuit is best known as a venue for the annual Formula One Indian Grand Prix, which was first hosted in 2011. However, the Grand Prix was suspended for 2014 and cancelled due to a tax dispute. Okay, but yeah, like for 2022, it was planned that the Buddha International Circuit would host events for the Formula Regional Indian Championship and the F4 Indian Championship, but they're both cancelled as well. And now it'll host the Indian GP MotoGP from 2023. But it doesn't seem like much is riding around there at the moment or going around there.
I've seen some clips of track days, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it
think the
looks.
ARRC races in it. They've raced in there from 2016. Let's have a look.
Yeah, and if Asia Road Racing aren't there, then
Hmm.
they go to all the tracks in Asia.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I'm not sure. I'll have a look quickly whilst I'm here to check the calendar. Let's have the FIM posted the things.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they go to all, yeah, like you said, they've gone Thailand, Malaysia, Japan, round fours, TBC. I think it's gone now, so I'll have a look. China and Thailand. So they're not even riding at that circuit now. And now
yeah. Asia
MotoGP is
Road
going
Racing
there.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Asia Road Racing. They used to ride at like circuits like Sentul and stuff. That were
Hmm.
pretty sketchy. But now they don't even race there, and Asia Road Racing's only at Grade One tracks, and it's very good to see.
Yes. Yeah, which is true. But it's like, why are we going to this track if no one else is wanting to go there?
Yeah. Funnily enough, in my domestic championship, there's actually a lot of riders that come over from India,
Yeah.
and I spoke to one of the riders who's a KTM rider back in India, and he was telling us about how it was like a big event supported by KTM to bring um the GP to India.
Okay, yeah, because KTM India do a lot of things.
Yeah,
They had with Jeremy Williams, they're the three KTM RC Cup champions. With
yeah,
Jeremy Williams, lot last time out, time
y-
before
yeah.
Catalonia.
One of those riders was the one that I raced against
Ah,
back in Thailand.
okay, yeah, I can't remember their names, but yeah, KTM do a lot over in India. Because Jeremy Williams goes out there a lot and rides as well and does like things for KTM and stuff. So yeah, I think it could be interesting. I'm excited. The layout looks good. It looks interesting. It looks fun. So I'm quite excited to see how the riders get on with that.
I'm thinking it's a probably a Aprilia Ducati kind of track. I mean,
Yeah, I'd say so.
it looks very stop-starty, to be honest.
Yeah.
But honestly, if Fabio said he's not worried about the walls, and the walls are as bad as we've seen in some of the videos, then,
Hmm.
fortune may favor the brave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it depends because if enough riders kick off about the walls, then they might not even. There is definitely. I've got a photo here actually. Turn two. I'll just send it now. You come down that straight. If it's the way I can't. I don't know the layout, of course, but if it's yeah, it is right. So you come towards us in that photo. If you tip off at the exit of that turn, just straight into that wall.
Ah, that's the final corner. That's the final
That's
corner.
a fan call.
Yeah,
Ah, okay, that's okay. That's not as bad then.
yeah. Now you should look at search up an image of turn 3 and 4 complex.
Turn
I think that will be
three.
the one that will.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I've got like
Yeah,
an aerial view.
yeah. When I have a look at that one, especially on the video MotoGP released, that one
Hmm.
looks a little bit gnarly.
What about this one? I'm sending now. There you go. That looks gnarly. If you crash there,
Yeah, and that again looks like the final corner, like the pit
ah,
entry.
okay. I think it
I'm
might be on
trying.
the new game. You know, it might be on. I think it's on the new MotoGP 23 game.
Yeah, we should hop on that. That could be insightful.
Yeah, I'll have to like. I don't actually have it, but I'm sure I can
You
purchase
can
it.
make a post on the Instagram with what it looks like in
Yeah,
the game.
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Because
Because,
honestly, the video that MotoGP released came out about a year ago, but they
hmm,
probably would have been working on it in the game up until 6 months ago. So
yeah, absolutely.
you
I'm just
never
watching
know.
like an onboard of it now. So it's more
Yeah,
like the
have a
pit
look at
lane.
that.
It looks fun though. To be fair, it looks
Oh yeah,
ace.
it looks
Like
like a
turn
great
one,
layout.
the straight on it is absurd. And
Yeah,
the guy's crashed. No.
has he? Oh god.
Yeah, but okay, and they've added like a little chicane in as well. But it's just weird. Like, I'm intrigued. So for anyone listening, hop onto YouTube and just type in MotoGP 23 gameplay, Indian GP. You can see some people doing laps of it. It does look good. I do see where the walls are a bit close. If you have a fast crash, I do see people kind of going into those walls, or where there's not much runoff. There is a lot of runoff, but it's straight onto tarmac. And we've seen before riders who crash onto tarmac and the suits get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, I
So I'm a
hope
bit,
it's just less abrasive tarmac.
yeah, because yeah, there's a lot. Like the corners do look a bit sketchy, to be fair. Some of the exits. I'll send you this one quickly. It's terrible for
Is it is
listeners,
it this
but
one?
it's not that video. But I just sent you
Different
an
one.
image. Like if they crash there, what
Oh,
corner
for
is that?
sure. That
What corner is that? Turn
is
two.
turn 2. Yeah.
Yeah, turn two. That is sketchy as hell. There is
Yeah.
no runoff there.
Skip that video to the next corner and let's have a look at the exit of turn 3 and 4.
Okay,
Or
let's
the
have a
exit
look.
of that hairpin before the long back straight.
Okay. Oh God. Yeah, there's just a wall. It's just straight wall.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. It's straight wall. Turn three and four. It's just wall. Like there is no runoff there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what speed he's doing in the game. You might be able to get some insight of just
He was
we can
doing
approximate within
70
20k.
kilometers.
Yeah,
70
that's
kilometers.
you need probably a little bit more runoff than that. I mean,
Yeah, I would think
I don't
so.
know the calculations. I don't know how abrasive that tarmac is, and I don't know what the actual racing speed will be like. And of course, the
Mm.
relevant safety authorities will be going through and calculating that, hopefully. And I'm hoping for the riders' sake that it's been homologated a few months in advance at least. But we've
Yeah.
seen in Formula One in the past few years when they're rushing a new track to be on the calendar. You know, when we look at the first Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, they homologated that the day before the weekend was due to start. And that's, I see where that can happen with a street circuit or something like that
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
cars. But if this is a circuit, you know, we know it's been there since, you know, prior to 2011 F1 days. And
Mm.
if it's not ready, you know, Dorna should have just communicated better with the relevant bodies within India.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying that they're having to do like meetings and stuff with riders now to like be like, oh yeah, it is safe, by the way. Just watch this video and it'll prove it. Like, obviously, we'll only know when they're on track on the bikes and stuff, but it doesn't fill me with too much confidence.
Yeah, I believe what we'll have is the riders on Wednesday and Thursday media days and
Yeah,
whatnot, riding and doing their track walks. And as soon as you can feel a bump on a track on a bicycle, you know
yeah,
that when you jump on a motorcycle. Oh, sorry,
yeah.
there's just a motorcycle out my window at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but as soon as the riders are even just on the surface of the track and you can visually inspect it, it's completely different. And when I've seen, some pretty bumpy tracks in my racing career, and you can really tell visually when they're bumpy, and they'll know. And if it's gonna be cancelled, it'll be cancelled before bikes even hit the track.
Yeah, I'd hope so. We'll have to see, I guess, because Alay should be the loudest voice, obviously, there
Yeah,
about
and
safety.
do do MotoGP riders have a union like the Grand Prix
No,
Drivers Association? Yeah,
no.
that's interesting because it'll be because all the GP riders are contractually obliged to race if they're declared fit, and their
Mm,
teams have to put up riders. So it could be what we've seen previously in other motorsport categories where it can be a standoff between the riders and the FIM of who wants to fold first.
yeah, yeah. We've had that before, like in the 90s and stuff and 80s. I remember there was one at a TT. There was one ages ago, and all the riders, I can't remember what it was. It was like, I think it was Spencer, Rainey, stuff like that. They all basically stood on the pit wall and didn't refuse to race. Let's have a look. MotoGP, when was it? MotoGP
Would have been late 80s.
refuse. Yeah. I'm just working out what to set a post in the YouTube, in the Google. No, I can't. When MotoGP riders strike. That's right. There you go. Yeah, Kevin Schwantz, Rainey, and Lawson. It was a 1989 Italian GP at Misano of all things as well.
Hmm.
And there was a
Would you look at that?
strike. Yeah, there was a
Well, that was
strike
when the
because the
sorry.
riders were concerned about the track surface, considering it too slippy, and should it rain, even dangerous. Hmm. And then the rain started, and Schwantz raised his hand to stop the race. Top riders at a meeting decided they wanted to practice a session before restarting in the wet. The request was refused, and the riders decided to boycott the race. I don't know if we'll get a boycott of this race. It depends, obviously, how. We'll only know when they've kind of walked the track and ridden the track, how they feel about it.
Yeah, because if it's not cancelled by Thursday, which if it will be cancelled, it's very likely that it will happen before the bikes hit the track. But after the first practice, then there'll be more riders joining a refusal to race if there is a refusal to race.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right, let's move on to some other silly season talk. I don't know, have you got any? I've got a few, but I just wondered if you've got anything.
Um, Not on the top of my head. I know Diogo Moreira to Italtrans. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
awesome.
confirmed. Yeah,
Um, Jake Dixon. I keep hearing stuff that he could be going to GP, but
yeah, Gresini, yeah.
I'm not convinced he's earned it yet. If I don't want to sound like I could do better, which I definitely couldn't, but I think what Pedro Acosta's doing now, if I were KTM, I'd loan him to Gresini.
Yeah. But the thing is, Pedro Costa's contract runs out with KTM at the end of next year. So if they loaned him to Gresini next year, they could risk losing him at the end of the year anyway.
Yeah, so you'd contractually have to say, oh, look, you get to ride Ducati, which right now,
Yeah,
just, we're not stating that we're bad as a KTM manufacturer, but look at the previous championships, like in the constructor sector, it's been
yeah,
Ducati. Now you go ride this bike for 2 years, you get really good, you learn everything there is to learn about a good MotoGP bike, and you come back to us. And if by the time we haven't got a great bike, you'll have experience on a good bike to help bring us up. And then it's a
yeah.
mutual. We give you MotoGP experience on a good bike, and then you win with
Hmm.
us, or you help bring us up to winning.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, there's a few confirmed riders this weekend as well. There's Nicola Carraro was confirmed at the MTA squad. He replaces the outgoing Ivan Otola, who was then confirmed at the MSI squad, replacing Diego Moreira. David Munoz was confirmed to stay at Bow. That was after... I'm not sure if I can give this information, but I'm going to give it anyway. Two teams tried to buy him out of his contract and were refused, from what I've been told. And the fee, I think, was €350,000 to buy him out of his contract.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think because I'm pretty sure he signed a 3-year deal with Bo when he joined Moto3. I'm not going to name the teams because that's not fair. But yeah, the two teams are after him. So I've got some more rumours, some interesting ones. So Io next year, rumoured to be Jose Rueda again next to Xabi Zuratuza.
Yeah, Zuratuza is a killer of a rider.
He's so good. Like I remember back at the
really
ETC, good. It's fantastic, right? He's obviously won 2 races or maybe 3 now, Junior GP this year. Superb rider. He also tested for them last week at the test in Catalonia in place of Onshu, who rode for the Moto2 team. In SIC 58, Lunetta was finally confirmed as well.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll let him use the 58. Because I saw that there was they have? They've confirmed that?
Yeah, they've let him use it, yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's gonna be a kind of a full circle moment, I think.
Yeah, because the photo actually... Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a photo of Lunetta and he's a little kid with Paolo Simoncelli as well. Oh, wow. Which is quite sweet, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Leopard isn't confirmed, but they should have a new lineup of Angel Piqueras, who's the Red Bull Rookies champion this year, alongside Adrian Fernandez, is the rumour at the moment. He's ridden for them a few races this year, did okay.
Yeah, I think Leopard, if we look back at previous years, it's always been a Moto2 Red Bull KTM Ayo-esque sort of team in terms of stature, you know. You know, they always have the fastest bikes in terms of top speed. And we talk about, you know, Foggia riding for them, Joan Mir in previous years. I think Fabio Quartararo as well, even in previous years.
Danny Kent and Bastianini, Lorenzo Dalla Porta won a championship for them. Like, top team. Miguel Oliveira rode for the Moto2.
Yeah, they know how to churn out good riders. And I think they've hit a bit of a lull, but it's not the team's fault. I believe just the level in Moto3 is so high at the moment.
And Honda are not good at the moment either.
Yeah, Honda.
They're in a bad place.
Yeah, the KTM bike, every time I watch practice in Moto3, I always see new updates that they've brought. I remember even a few years ago where they were the first to bring the wheel covers, and then Honda didn't have those until 3 or 4 years, or not years, sorry, races later.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because it's locked until next year. So all the Moto3 bikes from, I think, 2021 to 2024, start of 24, had to be the same, and they can't change. But a few updates have been here and there. KTM were testing brake ducts a little while ago on the front wheel with Efren Vasquez and things like that. But Leopard seemed to... The Honda, like we said, has always struggled. Has struggled the last few years. But Leopard have been able to kind of churn out fast bikes. I don't know what it is they have in their straight line speed, but it was ridiculous. Jaume Masia obviously can ride that Honda really well to get it to where it needs to be in positions it probably shouldn't be, because like we said, it's been frozen for a few years, the Honda, so it hasn't actually made any progress. So it's a tricky one, really.
Yeah, the Honda's always been described to me as a bike where you have to ride and like you have to carry the speed really a lot through the corners.
You have to be smooth.
Where the KTM is
you have to be like
stop, go.
Yeah. You have to be aggressive with it,
Exactly, yeah. You can shoot and like brake hard and then square off the corner, accelerate hard. And a lot of riders, I think, these days, and the whole racing style of a Moto3 race is send it up the inside as late as you can on the brakes, you know, hold the tight line around the apex and then absolutely gas it. So in terms of racing, the KTM, it's just the way it's built is just going to be a better racing bike.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just the way it handles. Well, I've gotten some interesting information I'll give you in a minute about next year's bike for Moto3. But yeah, it does seem. I mean, most of the teams on the grid are running KTM or are in the Pyro group. Obviously, with Gas and Husqvarna on there as well, because it's the most dominant bike. You saw in race one, well, in the race at Misano, when Mazia got an outstanding start. Sasaki had a pretty good start, but by turn one, Sasaki was ahead of Mazia just because the bike, the power of the bike, it just absolutely blasted by that Honda. But obviously,
Yeah,
Honda and Leopard excel on the top speed.
yeah,
Yes, and then some more rumours. MSI, obviously, Ortola's confirmed to go to MSI, and it'll likely be Asman again. That'll be his teammate. I believe that one of the riders has to be like an Asian rider or a rider from like the Asian Talent Cup or the Sepang Racing Team kind of thing. So that's why we had Yamanaka in there. Now we've got Asman in there. Asman's a
yeah.
good
Asman's a good
talent.
rider. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
really
him.
good rider. I
I think
think.
there's no BS with him. I don't think I've ever heard him say anything silly in the media, and I reckon he just gets out there and does the job, and he's doing
Yeah,
well. He's getting better,
yeah,
and
he is.
he did well in the Junior World Championship.
He was
So I think
second.
maybe yeah,
Yeah, he was second
we'll
overall.
see something special. Maybe in Sepang this year, I reckon we'll see something special.
Yeah, because he has had a few years in the Grand Prix World Championship already. He was always better on the Honda though. His second best ever result was actually in 2021 as a wild card. This year he's kind of struggled a little bit. He got 11th place in Argentina earlier this year, but I think maybe because he had Sepang Racing Team in 2021 at Aragon and got 13th place. I think he's better suited to a Honda, which is interesting.
Well, that's just what he's brought up on, and
Yeah, he's
he is a
literally
bit
ridden
old
Honda
for
for
Moto
years.
3, and so it could be hard to just shift to that new style of
To the
riding.
KTM. Yeah, because he rode the Honda in the Asian Talent Cup, Honda in the European Talent Cup, Honda for 2 years in the Moto 3 Junior World Championship, and then when it changed to the CV Moto 3 Championship, wait, it's changed names a few times, but yeah, in the 4 years he was in that category anyway. He was on a Honda, and I thought he finished second last year. He actually finished fourth.
Yeah, but in the Junior World Championship, it was so close to the end. It's really
Yeah,
he was up there, and
yeah, he was up there the whole time, really.
yeah, so
Um,
Honda man,
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Asman.
Oh yeah, and CF Moto will stay with Artigas. Kelso's lost his seat and will be replaced by Riccardo Rossi, who returns from a Honda to a KTM. And the biggest one, so a few riders got to test the 2024 KTM recently at the Silverstone test, including Mr. Daniel Holgado, who will remain in Moto 3 next year, even if he wins the title.
Wow.
Which is the first time we've seen a Moto 3 rider go to defend the title, if he wins it, of course.
Yeah, well, that would be something special as well. I'd love to see the number one plate on a Moto 3 bike. I think
Mm,
that'd be class.
yeah, I would too. I'd love to see that. So, yeah, and it was weird because Filippo Ferroli was meant to be out of the team, and now suddenly he's in again. So I don't really know what's going on with that side of the garage. But those are the Moto 3 rumours I've got for you. The moment I don't really have many for Moto 2. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
heard some rumors about Ayagura possibly not remaining with Honda
yeah
Team Asia.
to MSI. Yeah, he could
Yeah,
be going to MSI with Sergio Garcia.
I don't see. Like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of weird. If you looked at him last year, he's definitely like the best or the top two or three Moto 2 riders out there at the moment. But
Yeah,
for some reason, he doesn't really have any stock outside a Honda team because
no,
I feel like European riders develop chopping and changing teams like nothing else. They'll try different manufacturers and all that. But it's honestly like Jonathan Ray leaving Kawasaki for Yamaha. It's that kind
yeah, it was
of
mad.
huge, big jump. Like, you can't imagine Ayagura or Chantra, who basically have grown up as Honda since they were
Idemitsu
like
riders,
children.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't imagine them changing.
No, it's a really weird one.
But I
Um,
believe Mario Aji has to, get a move on, or I don't know if
fast.
he tested the Moto 2 bike or not.
I don't know. I don't think he did. He's quite tall though, isn't he, Adji?
He's huge. He needs to
Yeah.
get on a Moto 3 or Moto 2 bike. He
Yeah, maybe in like the Junior Championship,
he
European.
just gets swamped. That would be honestly that's a great spot for him to go. Yeah, the Junior World Championship in Moto
Yeah.
2 for Mario Adji, that's perfect.
Yeah, because like he looks insane. I'm just sending a photo now. He is massive on that thing.
He's huge. It honestly looks like me when I get on my 400 or something. It's like I'm
Yeah.
riding a mini moto.
Yeah, like he is massive. I wonder how tall he is. Let's have a look. Mariachi height. Because he's getting swallowed in Moto 3 World Championship. He's a solid rider. A very good rider, but apparently he's only 171. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. He's 67 kilograms though.
That's
I,
heavy, that.
I've seen other sources that say he's 175 as well. Who
Yeah,
knows?
because he's
I
quite
mean,
young, so he's probably still
I'm
growing.
I'm 183 centimeters and 62 kilograms
Jesus.
in race trim.
Yeah, that's
So
light as hell.
I mean, he's pretty stocky for a Moto 3 bike, considering when I stand up next to a Moto 3 bike, the bike doesn't even go higher than my hips.
Really? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah, Moto 3
Oh.
bikes are tiny.
Yeah, they are minuscule. Like MotoGP bikes actually are smaller than I thought they were. Like the first time I
Yeah,
ever stood next to a MotoGP bike, I was like, it's so small.
well, they've got shorter wheelbases than most
Yeah, they
super
do.
bikes.
Yeah, they do. I think it's it's 18 mil, no, 18-inch rims they run.
Uh, I think they were on 17, oh no, 16.5 a few years ago, and I think some of them
Hmm.
have shifted to 17s now.
Yeah, I think it's still, yeah, 2060 17 on the front and rear, so they're up to 17 mil. It used to be 16 and a half. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
And now it's up to 17s for the pair of them. So still pretty small, I would say. But yeah,
yeah,
I've
that's
got.
standard like road bike and race bike size
Yeah,
for
that's
sport
true.
bikes.
Good point.
Which is good because it means that they can apply that technology more directly to street bikes. The
Yeah,
more
which helps.
similarities that they have between the superbike and MotoGP and then street bikes, the better for everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely, because it reduces that disparity and things like that as well across the board and helps Honda and all that sell bikes because they go, I can ride a MotoGP bike on the street. That's why the V4R has sold so many because it is literally a MotoGP bike for the street. It's obscene.
Yeah. Oh, Ducati are just packing crazy stuff into that.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like the technology and stuff that goes into that bike is ridiculous. But I've got some more rumors for you. Moto 2, thinking about it. There is the one that Ayumu Sasaki will be promoted to the Intact GP for Moto 2 within his own team for Moto 2 next year, which would be a good move for him. The one I did hear the other day that was mental to me is that Gresini Moto 2 will run Fabio Di Gianantonio and Manuel Gonzalez next year.
Oof, that would be. I feel like Digia deserves better than that.
He does have superbikes here, I think.
Yeah, Aprilia need a superbike
They
campaign,
do.
and
They
Digia
stopped
would do
doing it,
great
didn't
there.
they? Yeah, because they stopped doing it to focus on GP, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It worked out, putting all their eggs in one place. But they've lost Iannone now, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes in Superbikes next year.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, but who will be the one leaving Intact GP Moto 2 then?
I believe, from what I told, both of them are out. Tulovic and Binder.
I always thought Tulovic was, very close friends with the owner of Intact,
Hmm.
the company.
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe, but I know Tulovic is German, which helps them, and he's kind of
Yeah,
got. He won them the European Championship as well. He's only had 1 year now in Moto 2. I think he deserves a second year for sure. It's a
yeah.
weird
Darren
one.
Darren Binder hasn't really shown anything special.
No, he's been injured most of the year and stuff like that. I think
Yeah,
out of the two of them, I think Tolovic should get another year. Darren Binder can go elsewhere, I guess. But
Darren Binder in Super Sport 600 would be pretty cool. It's at a
that'd
team
be
like
ace.
Evan Bros or maybe even GMT 94 or something like that.
Yeah, or the oh my God, what's the name of it? The 10 Carter squad, maybe.
Yeah. Even imagine Darren Binder to Ducati World Supersport in
That'd be
Aruba IT,
sick. Yeah, because he'd
replacing
be
replacing
replacing
Bulliger.
Balaga. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be
that'd be
crazy.
so good. To be fair, I'd be up for that.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find
Senna
out.
Aegis, he deserves a Moto 2 seat for next
He's
year.
so good. He's really good, St. Aegis.
Yeah,
Do you know him personally or?
yeah, I've met him a few times out in
Yeah.
Sydney Motorsport Park here, and he is yeah, he's a killer of a rider, and he's got the backing to go all the way. So I think
Hmm.
if we don't see him in a full-time seat next year, it'll definitely be 25. But honestly, my bets are on him having a full seat for next year.
Well, he's absolutely walking away with it in Junior GP this year. He's
Yeah,
so far ahead of everyone else at this moment. Like, let's have a look. 2022 FAM Junior GP. I need 23 page. So that's Moto 3. All right, come on. There we go. Right. So they've had 5 races. They've had 10, well, 5 rounds, 10 races. Senna Aegis has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 races. So he's won half the races. He leads only by 20 points because he missed Catalonia completely through injury.
yeah,
So the
that's
fact that
crazy.
he could throw away 50 whole points because he was injured and still be leading by 20 points
Yeah,
is,
nah, he's a legend.
yeah, because he got what, first, third, first, then missed 2 races. So realistically, he could come back and win some more races, I think.
Yeah, especially after some more experience in the Grand Prix paddock.
Yeah, there's one rider I'm interested about if I'll ever see him ride, which is Carlos Tatai. 'Cause he's
Yeah, I
won
was just
a
thinking about him.
race. Yeah, he's won a Moto2 race this year, but did you see the video he posted on Instagram the other day?
Yeah, he's swimming.
Yeah, but like, did you see it before and after when he was kind of having to like get back into his wheelchair, and it genuinely didn't look like he had the use of his legs
I
at
haven't
all. He's got that scar down the top of his back.
seen that. I didn't see the
Uh,
before and after.
So if you,
I'll
cause you see him jump into the water, now he's
Yeah,
swimming, and then yeah, him after getting into his wheelchair, he's not using his legs at all. I'll send it you on Instagram if you haven't seen it.
yeah, no, I've seen. I'm watching it now.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, he was just there celebrating, getting back into his wheelchair on his own.
yeah, like. Like I'm a bit worried about that, to be honest. I do hope that he can come back one day, and because he's a fast rider, but that
Man,
scares me a
it's
little bit.
horrible.
Yeah, it's not nice to see whatsoever.
Yeah, I hope he makes a full recovery, but you cannot get your hopes up, I guess.
No, but yeah, those are really all the rumors I've got, to be honest. At the moment, things might
Yeah.
change, especially in the
Uh,
next few weeks.
maybe a little bold prediction, not a bold prediction, maybe just a completely stupid prediction. If Marc Marquez is to leave HRC, I reckon Jack Miller would be a great fit
I've heard
in
this rumor.
in
I've heard
Repsol.
this is a rumor. Yeah, I've heard this that because it'd be great because there's a whole thing about Jack Miller getting double salary 10 wild cards next year or something.
Yeah, I've heard this, but
The KTM rubbished it straight away.
you'd be throwing your whole career away because it's hard to have stock as a rider without competing for an entire year, so they can't track your results. Because let's just say you take your 10 wild cards, but you'll never really be able to get a season going with momentum, which means your results will be hindered.
Yeah.
Of course, you'll be able to probably be able to handpick which tracks you'd want to race at, but
Hmm.
then they could use that as an excuse if you have success. I think either way, it doesn't really speak to other teams that, you know, you're very good.
Yeah, because it kind of, once you're out, it's hard to get back in. Like
Yeah.
Dovizioso managed to get back in, but Dovizioso has a very
I mean, he's
solid racing
Dovi,
career, and yeah, that's Dovi is not. it's a bit different when you name, like, no disrespect to Jack Miller, when you're not Jack Miller. Jack Miller's won, what, 3, 4 MotoGP races? Dovy's
Yeah, I think
won a countless and was second 3 times in a row.
yeah, it's just a little bit of a different level. But I think Jack's a great rider on his day, and
Yeah.
once he figures out how to manage that rear tire, he'll be faster than anyone. But he
Mm,
always seems to start really well and then always drop back. He just sinks slowly, and every race is like, I don't remember. I think this year the last time I saw Jack Miller actually make an overtake. I mean, I
yeah.
this whole
I
year's just
was
been
getting.
seeing him getting passed and passed and passed
Yeah.
every race.
Yeah, so it just like drops right out of the order of contention. Then like he even crashed out this weekend gone as well, like Misano. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
well, is there an updated video on what happened between Pirro and him?
no. I think Ducati mentioned it in their press release. Hold on, I'll just have a look at my emails because they did mention it, but I can't remember whose fault it was. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think
Go through my emails quick.
the initial predictions were that not predictions or the initial interpretation was that Michele Pirro T-boned Jack,
Hmm.
and it
Let's
was
have a look.
Pirro's incident, but
Here we
there was
go.
no replay. So
No, so it says the Ducati press release says the rider from San Giovanni Rotondo, I've just butchered that, was showing that he could fight for some points in today's GP, but contact with Jack Miller soon put an end to his race. In the collision with the Australian rider, Pirro suffered a contusion to his right ankle that forced him to miss tomorrow's test, but he will return at India to replace Enea Bastianini.
yeah, well, poor Bastianini.
Yeah, he's had a shocker, hasn't he?
I mean, Pecco is just incredible. How's
The
he done
fact that he
that?
was done that, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. The fact that he was still third is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And honestly, I thought when I first saw that accident, I thought career over. Honestly, I mean, you think about how Franco Morbidelli's knee twist in the French Grand Prix of 21 or something
Mm,
was,
yeah.
that we talk about that as the last time we saw good form from Morbidelli. But
Mm.
think about, okay, that's just tipping a bike over and landing wrong on your knee. Think about an entire MotoGP bike with the massive heavy balls of Brad Binder riding over you.
Yeah. Like that is, and yeah, and the fact that he was then walking, and then he was obviously struggling because he was struggling to get on and off the bike. But the fact that he was able to finish on the podium in
Yeah, they
both
don't.
races,
The commentators don't tell us what type of painkillers they use anymore. I remember watching
no,
older GP races. They would explain, oh, this rider's on just standard painkillers. Oh, this rider's on injection painkillers. And
mm,
I love to hear that. Not to hear that they were on painkillers, but I'd love to
no,
know which ones they were on because then you know how hard they're having to bite concrete.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it depends. Because some of them like they can knock you out, make you a bit tired and all that as well, can't they? And but it
Yeah,
just
it's
depends.
pretty gnarly when you get to the point
Yeah,
where you're having to inject painkillers directly to the area that hurts.
yeah, just
That's
so
for
you can actually go and
situations
ride the
with like
bike.
fully broken bones, like
Yeah.
Not Jorge Martin, sorry, Jorge Lorenzo in Assen.
Yes. Oh my god, with this collarbone, that was horrific. Like
Yeah,
that was awful. The fact that he did that was just. But then Lorenzo as well when he broke both his ankles and then was on the podium a few weeks later with
yeah.
two broken ankles. You're like,
I
what the
mean,
hell?
we talk about these guys being aliens, and we always thought, when we looked at Rossi in his last few years in GP, he became, let's say, a bottom of the points kind of rider.
Yeah.
In no disrespect to him, he's one of the greatest of all time. But look at Pedrosa, where Pedrosa is now, and every time I look at that KTM bike, like particularly Pedrosa's bike, it's just beautiful. The innovation on that thing is just incredible.
Yeah. Unbelievable bike, isn't it?
And KTM finally decided to get off their high horse and make a carbon fiber chassis.
Yeah, I saw that on Friday. That was massive because they have been going on about this steel frame for years. Obviously, it's worked in the MX project and things like that. And I mean, to be honest, it's worked in MotoGP for a few years. But that step that we saw Danny Pedrosa hasn't raced full time in MotoGP since 2018 and is fourth place.
Yeah, and in Misano, which is a hugely physical track.
Yeah, that is. I got a controversial take on it though.
What do you reckon?
So Danny Pedrosa is obviously one of the greatest to ever do it. He's probably the greatest rider outside of the GOAT debate, I would say, or at least one of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Or just let's say the second tier GOAT,
Yeah, second tier GOAT.
comparing
Yeah,
to the
so
likes of
we got S
Dovi
tier
and
and they got A
whatnot.
tier. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Lorenzo and things like that. Danny is there. He is obviously an alien. He's a unbelievable talent. The fact that he can come in on a good bike and finish fourth tells me that the level of talent that we're seeing on the top riders in MotoGP is not as good as what we used to see maybe a decade or so ago.
Yeah, because Rossi always said that he's not getting any slower, that
Yeah.
the other guys are just getting faster. But when you
Yes.
see Pedrosa come in like that and just basically just wipe the floor with every other KTM rider,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, either that carbon fiber chassis is just that much better, or that he's just an alien. And I honestly think it's a combination of the both. When you look at that carbon chassis though, it's obviously saves a lot of weight because
Yeah.
so why would you have steel is just super dense. All the other
Yeah.
guys are using aluminium, which makes more sense. But maybe okay, it's not as rigid as you want it. But when you look
Mm.
at carbon fiber, it's it has a little bit of flex in it, but it's still a very rigid type of chassis to the point where it's almost emulating a steel chassis, but it's a third of the weight. So KTM seem to have got it good, and for someone of Pedrosa's stature, it seems to work. But who knows when a heavier rider like Jack Miller trials it, how his weight
Mm.
affects the flex of the chassis. There's a lot of unknowns right now, and I don't think we'll see it on the regular factory bikes for maybe another 2 or 3 races, especially after the unknowns of India and whatnot. They're not going to bring any new parts there.
No.
But you know that Pedrosa is a great test rider because when we saw him last in Jerez, he was trialing the new rear wing for KTM, which is
Yeah.
the square rectangular shaped one, and the other two guys with Binder and Miller were still using the inverse trapezoid rear wing. And the next race, immediately after Jerez, both Miller and Binder had that on both bikes and both sets of fairings homologated
Yeah.
like instantly before the racing even started. That means that both the factory boys and KTM itself have so much faith in Pedrosa and his feedback.
Yeah, and it's I think KTM. It's been proven with KTM, kind of stepping up a level each time, every year, thanks to Danny Pedrosa and the fact that because KTM have been doing this because they've had that trellis frame and their allegiance to that trellis frame for years, to the point where it was like a point where they were like, we will never go from this to a carbon frame ever, and it
Yeah,
was
and
always
then
that,
they've
and
done
then
it before Honda, and then they've done it before Yamaha, and
yeah, and because
yeah,
Ducati have had it. Ducati went from a steel trellis frame years ago to a carbon frame, and thanks to GT Dall'Igna, they were able to turn it into what it is now, which is obviously a MotoGP championship winning frame and bike. KTM now making that step over as well has probably been thanks to Danny Petrusa telling them you need to have a carbon frame, you need to have a carbon frame, you need to have a carbon frame. So eventually they go, fine, we'll give it a go. And the fact that Danny Petrusa has that much, obviously I'm assuming that Danny Petrusa has said that they need a carbon frame, but if that's the case and Danny Petrusa has that much leverage within KTM, then it just shows how highly regarded they hold him.
yeah, and it's good to see because sometimes teams don't take care of their test riders.
Honda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it.
I mean, they're very valuable people, and even Aprilia treats Savadori right. And we know he's not,
Really
the
well, yeah.
fastest rider, but he puts in the miles. And when we look at test riders that have failed in the past few years, Jorge Lorenzo at Yamaha, let's just say, they
Mm.
just they think it's all flashy, just testing new parts, but in reality, it's just laps and laps and laps and laps, just getting data for the engineers, trying every little different thing, and you know, giving your feedback. Imagine you're trying to ride a MotoGP bike at 100%, pushing that, but then you also want to be collecting everything that the bike is, giving you in terms of feedback. It's a lot to think about, and especially, maybe you're a bit older like Pedrosa, it could become difficult, but honestly, he's seems sharp enough, and that bike is getting better and better. So obviously, he's good at it, and maybe he's found a second calling.
Yeah, like the losing Danny Pedrosa, Honda losing Danny Pedrosa was their biggest failure in the last few years because Danny Pedrosa, his development for that bike on the Honda, always had it running at the front for years, from 2006 to 2018. Only when they started depending more on Marc Marquez's input and Marc Marquez what Marc Marquez wants did we see Honda obviously fall into the trap they're in now. If Honda had respected KTM, no, if Honda respected Pedrosa a bit more, if Honda had more faith in Danny Pedrosa, if Honda had actually decided to keep Danny Pedrosa as a test rider, I think we'd be talking about Honda now and not KTM being absolutely outstanding thanks to Danny Pedrosa.
Yep, and that's just the way it goes when you look at engineers. When you have riders who are, able to give that kind of feedback, they're just as valuable as a good result in terms of podiums and points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just because a lot of the issues with Honda and Yamaha, it seems that they kind of don't like to listen to riders' feedback, if that makes sense. They go from like more of the data and things like that, and they're also very rigid and strict with what they do, from what I've been told, anyway. Which is kind of again not generalization, but just from what I've told, kind of what is specific to more of a Japanese bike. We're seeing Honda, no Kawasaki and Yamaha struggle a bit in World Superbikes as well for similar reasons.
Yeah,
And yet the European bikes like Ducati and Aprilia and KTM are just full steam ahead with new parts and new bits here, there, and everywhere. And of course, them being in Japan makes it more difficult because you've got to make the parts in Japan, you've got to ship them over, you've got to ship them back. Okay, these don't work. Okay, send them all the way back to Japan. Whereas KTM and Ducati can go, oh, we're like 20 minutes from Misano, so we can just go and test this thing on an actual Grand Prix track. Oh, it does work. Great. We'll have that on the bike for the next race. Whereas obviously that's a lot more difficult for Japanese manufacturers.
yeah. And I think the Japanese mentality is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then
Mm,
by the time they realized it's broken or not working, it's, you're
mm,
years behind in development.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
Ducati and Aprilia and now the European manufacturers, when you look at them, they're not like iterating on previous concepts. They're like reinventing and really just trying everything because you can't just build on like a building block if it's, made out of feathers or something that's going to crumble, which is what Honda have tried to do since 2020 when they know the bike wasn't working. Marquez couldn't
Yeah,
ride it, so they're improving it. They're trying to make that bike better to turn. They're trying to make that bike, oh, it needs more rear grip, more rear grip, more rear grip. Oh shit, now the front, I can't handle the front.
yeah, that's it.
And it's just, you need to have an element of innovation that changes the game completely. You want the concept of a brand new bike. If I were Honda, the head of the design team, I would not take a single part from that current bike, other than maybe the new aero and the engine, but new chassis, new forks, new swing arm. And I don't like the fact that they've outsourced the frame to Calix or
Calex,
Suda, was it?
yeah.
Yeah, Calix.
Calex, yeah.
I don't like that. I think that's not in the spirit of Honda MotoGP. And I feel like if that Calyx frame was magically the thing that changed it and they started winning, it'd
Hmm.
feel pretty sour to me. Like, oh well, it doesn't really feel like a Honda victory.
Yeah, it's not, is it? It's
Calyx
a
engineering
Calyx
victory.
victory. Yeah, and it's sad that they're having to kind of go by that way. I mean, they're doing testing today. Marc Marquez has tested new things on the bike and said the normal rear grip issues remain. Johan Mir has also said that it's clear that the parts are theoretically clear that all the parts that were negative on the bike are still there. Maybe there are some improvements, but they're still there. And then goes on to say that the problems remain the same.
Yeah, it's probably because they've just tried to improve on the existing concepts and not try out completely new ones. And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm talking like, I don't know how hard it is to come up with a new concept, especially mid-season. You need months and months of research and development to be able to just come up with a new thing like a new chassis or stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think Marc Marquez and his future with Honda will be kind of pivotal on this. If this works and they're able to actually find something that does work, Marquez will stay. He's even said today in the last 10 minutes that he has three options for next season: a plan A, plan B, plan C, with only one or two people in his close circle aware of his options. I can imagine plan A is stay at Honda, plan B is Gresini, plan C, I'm only assuming assignment, but I have no idea.
Hmm. What could Plan C be?
Hmm.
Retirement, probably.
Maybe. That's the only thing I can think of. But
Yeah.
that is pivotal. And if Honda lose Marc Marquez, they have nothing at the moment, I think.
Yeah,
To be honest.
the new Honda even that they're testing right now,
Hmm.
the aero is very Ducati 2019, 2020-esque,
Hmm.
and they've still got the dinosaur tails that
Yeah.
Ducati came up with that everyone seems to be using now. What I've noticed is they're not using a ground effect oil pan like the Aprilias,
Yeah.
which if I were, Honda and I'm working on next year's bike and Aprilia, I've already had it since the beginning of this year and the end of last year, I would
Hmm.
definitely be replicating my own version of that pretty soon. And
Yeah.
honestly, when I look at that, it just looks like that wheelbase is just way too short on the rear end of with just. I feel like it's got too much weight on its front end, if I'm being
Hmm.
honest. But that's because Marquez couldn't stop tucking the front. So the mechanics and the engineers have gone, oh, okay, it's the logical thing. If you have so much front tucking, you shift more weight to the front, so then that'll solve your issue. But then in
Yeah.
turn, that takes weight off the rear, which means you have no rear grip.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
true.
just finding the happy medium between those two. And if there's no happy medium at the moment, then yeah, you gotta need a new chassis.
Yeah. That's it. And oh, it's very interesting and very interesting with Honda. Um, I guess we'll see. That's where I think we can leave it with Honda. We will see.
Yeah, we will see, and
We will
we will see
see.
pretty soon, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, on to some. We'll go over the races quick, and then we'll kind of tie it off because it's been an hour and 10 minutes already. But with Francesco Magni injured, not running at 100%, it was Jorge Martin who was able to capitalise on this, taking the full 37 points this weekend and take a lump out of Bagnaya's lead. I think it's now 36 points that separate them now in the championship standings with Bezzecchi in third. I think it's going to look real spicy now. 37 points is what you can get in a race weekend, and the gap is what 283 minus 247 is 36 points. So if
Yeah, so
Bagnaia has a terrible time,
if Bagnaia gets injured or something again, then Jorge Martin could be on.
yeah, he really could be.
but it's clear the championship will go to one of those three: Bezzecchi, Martin, or Bagnaia,
Yeah,
and more likely to be Bagnaia or Martin than Bezzecchi, I believe, at this point, with
yeah,
Bezzecchi around 60 points behind Bagnaia.
flipping heck. Yeah, I think it'll be one of those three. Who though? I genuinely have no idea at this moment in time. But
Bezzecchi's really like come on form this year, though. It's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, he's kind of doing what we expected him to do in Moto 2. Because in Moto 2, I thought he'd go out and kind of win everything, and he didn't. It was in Moto 3, for example, he was outstanding. In Moto 2, he kind of was there, but not really there. And now in MotoGP, think he's found his home. And
Oh,
yeah,
for
he's doing
sure.
really, really well now, especially in that VR46 squad. And he stays for next year alongside Luca Marini, who was confirmed over the weekend as well. I think Pozzacchi will get a 24 bike next year as well.
Yeah, nice.
And then maybe gone for a Bastianini seat in 2025.
Yeah, I believe that, if Honda or Yamaha don't buy Bagnaia off Ducati, that,
Mm,
if they did, it'd be Martin and Bezzecchi in the factory seats, no doubt. Bezzecchi
yeah,
is just a ripper of a rider, and Jorge Martinez stopped binning it when he's in the
thank
lead.
God. Yeah.
Yeah,
He settles for the fifths and the sixths now.
yeah, which is incredible. I mean, okay, Austria wasn't really the best showing of his
No.
nice new form, but Redemption Day in Misano. I mean, even though if he didn't really get a proper penalty for Catalunya, but
mm,
we move on. That's 2 races ago now, so
yeah. Yeah, but that's it. He's really come on now this year, and he's had a couple of podiums. He's had 2 victories now. He had that horrendous injury, obviously, in Portimao a few years ago, and he's still struggling with that now. He's got some problems with his nerve endings and things like that. And it kind of almost ended his career, not only his life, and maybe even his career. And the fact that he's now where he is, it kind of, for me, him and not going to the factory Ducati squad has actually been the best thing for him instead of going to the factory team.
oh for sure. I mean, Pramac just seems to be the best spot to be if you're a rider that sometimes is a bit temperamental.
Yeah. Because you don't have the pressure of fighting for a championship and expectation of winning that championship. So
Yeah, I
you can
think
just kind of go out and do what you want.
we're seeing it so much more these days where like an expectation within a team has actually caused a rider to do a lot worse than they probably would have if they didn't have the expectation. Like if we look
Yeah.
at Albert Arenas in Ayo
In the
Moto
IO.
2,
Yeah.
that team, you have great expectations in that team, but he just did not deliver. And then maybe, okay, Catalonia, he was there, but I reckon it was he was like quite lucky to get that podium.
Was it when it was on the Aspar squad last year on the Gas? When there was no expectation, it was up there. Especially when he was when in Moto 3 when he won the championship. He was an outside shot from the get go, and yeah,
Yeah, it's just,
and he won the whole thing.
and then everyone pinned him to be, fighting Acosta for the win this year.
Yeah, they did, yeah. Myself
And
included.
yeah, and I look, you look at Diego Moreira. Diego Moreira in the beginning of this year was, every MotoGP rider was really just saying, "Oh, he's going to be the one to do it."
Hmm.
But where is he now? It's just, I think the pressure, even outside of the team, external pressure from just fellow riders, think like saying, "Oh, he's going to be the best," and then you have one bad race where you can't perform, and then it just knocks your whole confidence.
Yeah, and he's struggled to kind of pick that up, Moreira, I
Yeah,
think. And yeah, he's really struggled with that. I think one rider, whilst you say that is regaining his confidence after a tough year is Ralph Hernandez, who, as we expected him to do, and many expected him, he came into Moto 2 and was just like the most sensational rookie since Marc Marquez in that class. He was Well, second overall, 307 points, 8 wins, 12 podiums in 18 races as a rookie.
Yeah, it's
That
incredible.
is unbelievable. And the fact that he missed out on the championship that year was his kind of his own fault because he stacked it Misano out of the lead.
And
But
Saxon Ring.
yeah, of course, yeah. But the fact that he could do that as a rookie, of course, you obviously have that expectation of him coming in to MotoGP and kind of repeating that success. But obviously, that didn't happen. And actually, his tally, just on a fun one for you, his tally of 307 would have won the championship in 2019, 2018. He'd have missed it by 1 point in 2017. He'd have won it in 2016, in 2013 as well. And he'd have won it last year as well. So it just shows how well he did. And so, of
And you look
course,
at
you
the
expect
total
him.
race times of Remy and Raul in Moto 2. They're still
Yeah.
faster than today's total
Yeah, they
race
were.
times.
They were like every session they were 1-2 pretty much. And they were not just a little 1-2. They were miles ahead 1-2. They had so many 1-2s that year. And so, of course, you expect him to come into MotoGP and set the world alight. And he sadly didn't in his rookie year. He has now beaten last year's points tally. He's now on 22 points. Last year he finished on 14. He also secured his first ever top 10 at Silverstone this year. Was running and could have got another top 10 in Catalonia, I would think, as well, before a technical issue. But then he got an 8th place yesterday, battling with Marc Marquez, Miguel Oliveira, Luca Marini. Like, who did he... Because I know he was battling with them, and he did beat... Let's have a look who he actually beat out of them lot. No, I don't want to see the test. I want to see the actual race. Thank you. So, yeah, he finished 8th. He beat Luca Marini, who was on the podium recently. That, to me,
Yeah.
shows a massive step forwards.
Yeah, even a big step forward. He was 11th in the sprint, and he beat
Yeah.
out Miguel Oliveira and Fabio Quartararo and Zarco in that little group there. And then in
Yeah.
the main race, beating out the likes of Marc Marquez, or almost beating out the likes of Marc Marquez,
Yeah.
battling
Nearly, yeah.
half a second behind. That's not
Yeah.
that's not all that bad.
No.
Yeah. But beating Zarco, Marini, Alex Marquez, and Aleix Spargo on the factory Aprilia, who just won the
Yeah.
previous race. That's insane.
Yeah. That's it. And he got into Q2 for the first time as well. And, we talk about riders like Diego Moreira losing their confidence. I reckon last year destroyed Raul's confidence. He probably came into that season so hyped up, like, yeah, I'm going to absolutely kill it this year. And then to see it fall apart around him, he's obviously had to take some time to rebuild this year. But I think he's regaining that confidence. And I think a confident Raul Fernandez is going to be a threat coming into the next few rounds.
Do you think that we could see him on the podium?
If he continues on this upward trend, so we went 15th, 12th, 10th, 8th. If we see this kind of steady
Yeah,
improvement,
if India goes ahead and he gets a top 6 there, then
yeah,
we cannot rule it out. But
yeah,
the
by the
next
end of the
two
year, yeah,
races, Japan and India, will be the decider if he's going to stay here or if he's going to keep
yeah,
going. Interestingly, though, Brad Binder and his little tip-off
yeah, that was weird.
still finished ahead of Morbidelli and Augusto Fernandez, though.
Yeah, which is, yeah, I would hate to be Franco Morbidelli or Fernandez, honestly, if that was me, because that's a little bit embarrassing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it?
No, and Mir again failed to finish. Like, I think he's finished one race this season. Let's just go through. Joan Mir, yeah. Oh no, he finished 2. He finished Catalonia. But yeah, he got points in the first race and did not start. Retirement, did not start, didn't start, retirement, 17th, retirement.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's a little tidbit as well. Danny Pedrosa in the standings is 1 point ahead of Marc Marquez now as well.
Oh, poor
He's done
Mark.
2 races. He's done 2 races. Yeah, unreal.
Well, he's also ahead of Bastianini
Yeah, which is
and Raul
ouch.
Fernandez.
Yeah,
The only person to
Holger,
not score points this season is Lecuona.
yeah, which is a weird one. I
Yeah.
guess because He's only been a standing rider, I guess. And that was
Or how
interesting
I
as
would
well.
love to see Remy Gardner and Domi Hager to test the Yamaha MotoGP bike.
Oh God, yes. I would love that. I think they'd really
Yeah,
like it, you know.
yeah, because seeing Lecuona come over from World Superbike and do a few races, and it's rumored that he'll be. Is he confirmed to be at LCR on Castrol?
The
No,
Corona. No, that's
sorry,
Zarco.
Zarco is. Yeah, I heard a
Yeah.
rumor that Lecuona could be coming over full time,
Yeah, well,
but I
I think
suppose
maybe
there
that's a
won't be.
plan B if Marquez quits, maybe.
Yeah, could do.
Or if Marquez quits, Zarco goes to Repsol and then Lacrona and LCR, maybe?
That would be a better fit. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that'd be much
Lecuona's
better.
not ready for Repsol.
No, I don't think so either. But um, what am I thinking? Yeah, it was interesting though because Takahashi, who was a replacement for Lacrona, who won the Suzuka 8 Hours recently with Xavi Vierge, failed to qualify and got a DNQ. And that's the first time in a decade we've seen a DNQ. The last time was at Kota in 2012. I can't remember the name of the rider, but it was on a CRT. And
Yeah,
that's, yeah, ouch.
that's sad, eh? But
It just
the
shows
thing
the
is
Honda, really.
that, and also endurance and MotoGP are a different ball game. I think if
Yeah.
he were to test and race the World Superbike bikes,
Mm.
he'd be much closer. But imagine coming off a basically what is a production chassis and then getting onto the Honda. Imagine
Oh,
how
God.
user unfriendly that would be. And
That'd
I
be
think
awful.
Lecuona is only, he hasn't scored points, but he hasn't. It's not been horrible. He qualified at least, but
Yeah.
that's because he's been used to riding the shitbox Tech 3 KTM.
Hmm. That's it. Yeah, the most recent DNQ was Michael Barnes at Kota 2013 on a CRT BCL, whatever that is. And he was, at the time, 44 years old.
Wow,
What the hell?
privateer.
But yeah, so that's the most recent DNQ from a MotoGP race. He's now retired,
Interesting.
actually. But yeah. So 10 years it's taken. Yeah, he did the baggers
Yeah,
last year, actually. Michael Barnes, that's cool. Oh,
yeah,
speaking
cool.
of baggers, we were chatting about the baggers. There was that crash from Tyler O'Hara the other day, wasn't there? That was
Or
mega.
the save or the crash.
The
Oh
crash
yeah,
when the chain whipped out.
that's horrible. That's
Yeah,
I've been there, and that is not a fun thing. Because
no,
on my bike, we try and save as much weight in terms of inertia as possible. There's no
yeah,
restriction on what chain we can use, so we use a 415 chain on like a 70 horsepower Ninja 400.
Jesus.
So it's like a little bit less power than a Moto 3 bike, or just probably about the same. And then
Hmm.
it weighs a little bit more than a Moto 3 bike, but that much power and that much torque through a chain that's like quite small, they stretch really easily. And about every 150 kilometers, we're changing a chain.
Jesus. That's
So we
ridiculous.
go through them pretty quickly. But if
Yeah, I
you
can imagine.
don't, yeah, I've had a pretty bad accident where going into turn 3 in Buriram, I was tucked in and then immediately popped up and downshifted from sixth gear to fifth gear. The chain
Hmm.
snapped instantly and wrapped around the rear wheel and locked it within the
Oh,
swing arm. And
yeah.
then I was already, because on a 400, when you're braking for that corner, you're already turning in. So
Hmm.
basically, my rear wheel stepped out and flicked me straight over, and I was
Oh.
knocked unconscious instantly, and I didn't even feel. Well, we still don't even know how I broke my foot, but I just woke up like 200 meters down the road, face down in the gravel, and then I was getting up. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Because surprisingly, this is how I know that maybe if I was born in the 70s or something, I would have been a good two-stroke 500 rider. You can see in the clip of this crash, me actually grab the clutch as I feel the rear wheel lock like instantly before the bike even steps out. But of course, that's not going to do anything. But if it was an engine seize like it was on the 500s, I
Yeah.
like instinctively grabbed it, and I think I was pretty proud of myself for
Yeah.
that one.
It's really
And
good, like, initiative, isn't it?
you got to take a positive out of it because
Yeah.
having a crash that's out of your control, that really knocks your confidence. And that
Mm.
one like I had that, and then 2 weeks later, my best friend in racing got put in a coma at a race, but I missed it because I was still partially injured. And
Mm.
also when I got injured, I wanted to have a go and see what the Grand Prix boys were like. So I rode the weekend after breaking my foot, and I was like two
That's
seconds
insane.
off my pace, and because I broke my right
Ouch.
foot, I could not
Yeah.
turn right at all.
Oh
Because when
my
I ride,
god.
I put like all my force through the foot pegs,
Hmm.
and on the right hand side, I just could not. But honestly, it was pretty fun to give it a go. But it's just stuff like that that knocks your confidence. And then I had, a mate get really injured, and that knocked my confidence.
Yeah.
So the start of racing last year was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And that's
Can
why I
imagine.
sympathize with all the riders when they have expectations.
Hmm.
Because when you look at riders, there's no one who puts more pressure on any rider than themselves.
Yeah.
Like as a rider, my parents always say, just go do your best. If you do your best, we'll be happy no matter what. My team says, you've got the pace, just go do what you can do. We're proud of you, whatever.
Hmm.
But I say to myself, I want to win. I want to beat this guy, and if I don't, I'll be pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm at a national level. I shouldn't be getting as mad as I do get sometimes. But I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm passionate.
Yeah, that's it. If you have that passion, then that's what you want out of a rider, I think. At the end of the day, you need that passion to get the results. If you don't care, then you're not going to really put your effort in, are you?
Yeah, exactly.
No. But going through Moto 2, Moto 3 quickly. It was nice to see Pedro Costa back in business this weekend. Back on the top step of the podium. Um, yeah, it's obviously just quite funny that he won the race after
The
Jay
Jake
Dixon's
Dixon
comments.
comments.
Yeah, oops, eat easy.
Yep. He
Yeah,
got beaten by the next Marc Marquez.
he did. Where's Jay Dixon? Oh God, where was 12? Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
That comment has come to bite him a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he got
And Pedro
not
Cos-
only beaten by the next Marc Marquez, but he also got beaten by, the current Somkiat Chantra and Ayagura and stuff like that.
Yeah, he got beaten by Mattia Passini, who's a blooming wild card,
Yeah. That's
and Sergio Garcia, who's a
crazy.
rookie.
Yeah, Sergio Garcia is a rookie. Philip
Ridiculous.
Salac, who's had, quite a downswing in form lately.
Yeah.
Mano Gonzalez, I want to say, I don't know how to describe his form, but I feel like the term solid fifth place rider
Yeah.
really is
Well, his
just,
best result is fifth, and he's hit fifth about 7 times now.
yeah, he's like the Aaron Canet of fifth
Yeah.
place.
Honestly, yeah, he's spot on.
Speaking of Aaron Canet, that's a shame for him to bin it while pursuing
Yeah,
another second place.
that was a big shame for Aaron Canet. That's the story of his season, though, and maybe his career, because I do wonder if he'll ever make it to MotoGP, but at the moment, he just likes to crash a bit much, and teams don't like crashy riders, I guess.
Yeah, the only place I could see him going is if something like MV Augusta or something made
Yeah.
either a
Well,
world championship in MotoGP or a world superbike campaign.
well, it's probably a story for another time because, my God, it'll take forever. But MV Augusta are rumored to come back in 2025.
So I've heard. With
Yeah.
Marc Marquez and Giacomo Agostini has offered to coach Marc Marquez if
Yes.
he is to join MV
I've
Augusta.
seen that. Yeah. Which is madness.
Yeah, that'd be a
Yeah.
dynamic duo.
Yeah, that would. I'm not sure how Agostini would fare with like ride high devices and all that, but
No, I honestly think it's a completely different sport now.
it is, yeah. Like
But the
it's
fact that
nice, but
Pedrosa has still managed to stay, like he's riding these bikes with all this aero and all these ride height devices, like in the start, like the launch control devices where it locks the front forks in, the whole shot
mm,
devices. It's just crazy. And, now even when you look at Pedrosa when he was riding previously, was no leg dangle or anything like that. But now he's
No.
left hand rear braking and front like right hand front brake. It's just a lot of things to think about that he didn't have to 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's bananas how much the sport has changed. Never mind from the 70s, but 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
exactly.
Yeah, and blooming Vietti's save in the race was like it was fully gone the bike when he picked that up. I have no idea
Oh
how he
yeah,
did that.
that's incredible. I think the power of Misano as his home
Mm,
race just
home crowd,
picked
yeah.
that bike back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Moto 3, David Alonso has fully put himself in contention for that championship now. After 3 wins in 4 races, he could have really had 4 and 4 if he didn't crash out of. If he didn't crash in Austria, which cost him a full 25 points, he'd be leading the championship right now as a rookie.
Yeah, he's 21 points behind Danny Holgado, and he's in fifth place.
Hmm.
So 5 riders within a race win. That's insane.
Like, because Holgado was like 60 odd points in the lead at one point. Now he's 4 points ahead of Sasaki. Moto 3 is about to get very spicy. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
surprisingly, Moto 2 is now the most dull championship.
Kind of already always was a little bit, I think. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I
Holgado.
guess it wasn't dull for me when I was supporting Remy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
I
a
was
good
just
point.
enjoying the domination.
Yeah, that's a good point. But no, Alonso being there now, 2 wins. He could probably go and. To be fair, these are tracks he's racing the Rebel rookies and stuff. He's never raced India. No, none of them have. He doesn't really know Japan, Indonesia, Australia, Thailand, Malaysia, Qatar, Valencia. He'll know. So this is a test for him now because he doesn't know any of these tracks. So he's got to go and learn each track and then try and win. But then again, he didn't really know Silverstone either, and he went and won there. So I'm probably just talking rubbish.
Sasaki's going to be good over the next coming races, I
Yeah,
reckon.
I think
You
Sasaki
know,
and Masia are going to be a
yeah.
threat.
Masia in Japan last year was pretty good, but remember he had that very big high side.
Yeah,
So
remember that.
he'll
Yeah.
be tentative with that.
Mm,
Sasaki home race coming up, of course, and then to Indonesia where he did well last year,
yeah.
and then Thailand, of course, coming up where he was very close to being on the box there, or he was. I'm not 100% sure where he finished
He was
last year.
second. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
second.
so we know
Malaysia
he's
second. So
yeah, and then Qatar will be interesting at this point in the season.
yeah, because will it be hotter there, or what? What will the conditions be like?
It will be starting to get cooler than normal. It will probably
Okay,
be
that's good.
very similar actually because it is the northern hemisphere, so it will be going into winter. But
Hmm.
we normally have the race in March anyway, so it's just on the exit of winter. I mean, I'm not a Qatari local, so I can't speak about what conditions will be like with humidity or wind or anything like that. But I'm sure in terms
No.
of track temp, will be around the same.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, especially because it's really kind of a write-off for me in terms of who's going to be the championship winner. Because
Hmm.
it's just so random. It's first of all, it's an interesting layout of track, and also it takes a few riders, a few races to get cooking.
Hmm. Does yeah. So
But
it's gonna
now
be
with all the
weird.
upgrades, how does KTM fight Ducati in Qatar now? It'd be very interesting.
Yeah, because like we say, a few years ago, it was okay. So Ducati would come out there and absolutely just smoke everyone in Qatar. With the Yamaha doing what they do every so often as well. But this time, with Aprilia, like you said, have got the swing of things now. KTM have got their upgrades. Qatar is not as concrete of being Ducatis as it used to be now.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm very excited for that one.
And then of course season finale in Valencia, the
Hmm.
classic, where
Yes.
Bagnaia
Can't
will
wait.
definitely go well.
Yes. I think so. Hopefully, last year he kind of just trundled him in like 12th or whatever it was to just get the
Yeah,
points, didn't he?
I mean he does. He always does what he needs to do, which is really interesting because I mean, earlier in this year, we saw the pressure start to break and we look at like America and whatnot.
Hmm.
But he's rebuilt that like so well. Like you can't, if you look at him now, you'll see like no cracks whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see what will happen. Like, he's pretty much unbeatable at this point. The only thing that beats him is injuries, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, all I know is we're in for a treat because the next few weeks of MotoGP are going to be insane.
Yeah, they're going to be nuts. If you can wake up in the early mornings to watch it live, I recommend you do. Because we're
Oh,
going to
it's
see some
perfect. It's
championships.
evening time for me.
Oh,
Australia's
that's
the
so
best
good.
place to be watching this second half of the season.
Oh, I'm jealous because I'm not looking forward to the rest of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we've got time for now. But I wanted to just quickly, before we end, pay my respects to a man who pretty much pioneered MotoGP and got it to where it is today. The IRTA founder and CEO Mike Trimby, who sadly passed away over the Misano weekend, weirdly, because he was in the paddock, I believe, on Friday. Like, somebody saw him in the paddock, and then he was gone, which is obviously very tragic and sad. But yeah, so I'd like to pay my respects to him and thank him for his services in the sport.
Yeah, MotoGP wouldn't be where it is today without Erda.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think that's all we've got time for. Have you got anything to add?
No, thank you for having me, and
Yeah.
it's been great, enjoyable.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. If you're happy to be our super sub, then next time we can't get Cameron and Lauren, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Legendary. Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been much appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, and yeah, have a good rest of your day, and thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and we're back next week. Thank you. Boom, there we go. Podcast done.